I treated her like family, paid her salary on time, even gave her extra money now and then, just to encourage her good work. But one morning, I noticed something strange. My savings box had been forced open. At first, I thought maybe I misplaced the cash. I wanted to believe it was my mistake, until I realized my gold jewelry, my watches, and my bangles were all gone. And the maid vanished. When I finally reached her on the phone, she denied everything, without shame, without fear, like she had rehearsed it 1,000 times. That day, I learned something bitter. Kindness doesn't always breed loyalty. Some hearts repay generosity with betrayal. The day I met her, I never imagined it would end like that. Her name was Lila. She looked so young, barely in her 20s, with innocent eyes that could melt anyone's heart. When she came for the interview, she spoke softly, almost too softly, like she was afraid to take up space in the room. "Madam, I just want to work," she said. "I can cook, wash, clean, anything you want." She looked so humble, so desperate, that something inside me softened. I didn't even bother checking her references. I simply said, "All right. You can start tomorrow." She smiled, showing small, white teeth. "Thank you, madam. God bless you." And just like that, Lila became part of my home. For the first few weeks, she was perfect, too perfect. She woke up before sunrise, cleaned every corner, and cooked meals that tasted like something straight out of a 5-star hotel. Even my husband noticed. "You finally found the right one this time," he joked. I laughed and replied, "Yes, I think she's special." I truly believed I had hired an angel. But angels can lie too. Sometimes they come wearing smiles so bright, you forget to look behind them. Hello friends and family, welcome to my channel. But before we dive deeper into today's story, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe now. Your support is what keeps this channel, and these stories, alive. Every time you click that subscribe button, you're helping us share voices that might never be heard, and stories that deserve to be remembered. In the comments, tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from every corner of the world. Because together, we're not just telling stories. We're keeping hope alive. Now, back to the story. At first, Lila was everything a madam could ask for. She worked quietly, smiled often, and always said thank you, even when I hadn't given her anything. When I traveled, she sent voice notes praying for my safe return. When I came home exhausted, she would warm my food and ask gently, "Madam, should I press your clothes for tomorrow?" I started to trust her, not just as a worker, but as a person. Some nights, I sat with her in the kitchen while she cooked, talking about life. She told me about her sick mother in the village and her siblings who had dropped out of school. Once she cried, real tears, and I remember reaching across the table to hold her hand. "Don't worry," I said softly. "I'll help you." The next day, I sent 50,000 naira to her account. She fell on her knees, eyes wide with gratitude. "God will bless you, madam. You're the best person I've ever worked for." I smiled. I felt proud of my kindness. It's strange how good people feel when they're being kind, until that same kindness turns into a weapon used against them. Days passed, and my faith in her deepened. She became like my little sister. I gave her some of my old handbags and shoes. Sometimes, when she dressed up to go to the market, she looked more like a lady than a maid. I didn't mind. I was happy she felt confident. But slowly, quietly, things started to change. It began with my favorite perfume, suddenly half empty, though I hadn't touched it. Then a missing lipstick. Then a towel gone from the bathroom. I didn't accuse her. I told myself maybe I misplaced them. Maybe I was just being forgetful. After all, she had never given me a reason to doubt her. Until that evening. I came home earlier than usual. The house was silent, too silent. As I stepped into the living room, I saw Lila sitting on the couch, her phone pressed to her ear. She didn't notice me at first. She was laughing softly and said, "Yes, I told her the money isn't much. She won't notice." My heart stopped. When she finally saw me, she jumped up and quickly tucked her phone into her dress pocket. Her face drained of color. "Madam, you're back early," she said, forcing a shaky smile. "Who were you talking to?" I asked. "Nobody," she replied too fast. "It was my cousin from the village." Her voice trembled. That was the first time I saw it, the crack behind her mask. That night, I lay awake replaying her words over and over. "She won't notice. What wouldn't I notice? The next morning, I decided to find out. I opened my wardrobe and checked my small wooden savings box, the one I used for emergencies. The lock had a tiny scratch, one I had never seen before. My fingers went cold. I counted the money. 450,000 naira was gone. My chest tightened. My vision blurred for a second. I called Lila immediately. Did anyone enter my room yesterday? She looked me straight in the eye, calm, steady, almost defiant. No, madam. Only me. But I didn't touch anything. Her calmness frightened me more than anger ever could. I wanted to believe her. But deep down, something in my gut whispered, she's lying. That night, I made a plan. The next morning, I placed 50,000 naira in an envelope and hid it deep inside my drawer, beneath a pile of clothes. Then I told Lila I was traveling for 2 days. I left the house smiling. But what I didn't tell her was that a hidden camera was watching every corner of that room. I left home that morning pretending everything was normal. Lila, I said, handing her a small list. These are the things to buy at the market. I'll be gone for a few days. My cousin is getting married in Abuja. She smiled, excited as always. Okay, madam. Safe journey. Should I cook before you go? No need, I replied, forcing a smile. Just make sure the house stays neat. She nodded obediently, and I walked out the door. But what she didn't know was that every step I took was part of a test. The moment my car left the compound, I parked at the corner of the street and opened my phone. I connected to the hidden camera I had installed the night before, a tiny one, barely noticeable, tucked neatly between 2 books on my wardrobe shelf. Then I waited. For the first hour, everything seemed ordinary. She swept, washed dishes, and sang softly to herself, a hymn about grace and forgiveness. But around noon, she paused. She turned her head toward my bedroom, stood still, listening. Then she walked in. My heart started pounding. She looked around, careful and slow, like a thief who already knew where to search. She opened my wardrobe. She wasn't cleaning. She was hunting. Her fingers brushed over my dresses, then slid to the drawer. She opened it, hesitated for a second, and then smiled faintly. I watched as she reached deep inside, pulled out the envelope, and quickly tucked it into her bra. My throat went dry. Even though I had prepared myself, it still felt like someone had stabbed me. It wasn't just about the 50,000 naira, it was about trust. About kindness that's being mocked. I had treated her like my own. And this was how she repaid me. A few minutes later, she walked out humming again, that same gospel tune. I sat in my car, shaking. Tears rolled down my cheeks, not because of the money, but because I realized something darker. I had been loving a snake and calling it a daughter. That evening, I returned home quietly, pretending nothing had happened. She came to greet me at the door, cheerful as ever. Welcome, madam. Hope your journey was fine. I forced a smile. It was fine, thank you. How was the house? Everything is clean, madam, she said, grinning. I looked into her eyes and saw nothing but calm confidence. The kind of confidence that only lives in people who think they've outsmartly gotten away with their crime. Good, I said softly. You did well. She smiled and walked away, humming that same song again. But as I watched her disappear down the corridor, I whispered under my breath. Tomorrow, Lila. Tomorrow, you'll meet the real me. That night, I copied the video footage onto my laptop, ready for the confrontation. My heart was steady. My evidence, solid. Tomorrow would bring her truth into the light. But when I woke up, when I opened my eyes that morning, something felt off. The house was too quiet. Usually, by 6 a.m., Lila would already be sweeping, or singing one of her slow gospel songs. But that morning, silence filled the air like fog. Lila. I called. No response. I stepped out of my room. The corridor smelled faintly of soap and air freshener, but the air felt empty, just hollow. I knocked on her door. Lila. Still nothing. I pushed the door open slowly. Then I saw it. She was gone. And so was everything else I hadn't even realized was missing. The bed was neatly made. Her few clothes were gone. The small nylon bag she always kept in the corner, gone. That's when my heart dropped. She had run away. I rushed to my wardrobe. The jewelry box, empty. The drawer, half open. My husband's gold wristwatch gone. I fell to my knees, shaking. All the kindness, all the trust, all the late-night conversations about her mother and her 6 siblings. All of it was a lie. I ran to the kitchen and checked the back door. The lock had been forced open with a spoon. She didn't just leave. She planned it all through. I sat on the floor and screamed. My other housekeeper from the guest building, Agnes, ran in. "Madam, what happened?" "She took everything," I cried. "The maid, Lila. She took it all." Agnes's eyes widened. "Madam, that girl? But she looked so gentle." I laughed bitterly through the tears. "Gentle, you said? Gentle thieves are the most dangerous." My chest tightened again, anger, humiliation, disbelief, all crashing inside me like waves. How could I be so stupid? That afternoon, I went straight to the nearest police station. The officer behind the desk listened half-heartedly as I explained what happened. But when I showed him the camera footage, his eyes widened. "Madam, this is not a small case. Do you have her details?" That was the problem. I didn't have any. No ID card. No guarantor. No address. Just her first name, her sweet smile, and my own foolish trust. The officer sighed. "We will try our best. But next time, madam, do not employ anyone without checking their background." I nodded numbly. That night, I sat in my room surrounded by emptiness. Every shadow looked like her. Every sound, a reminder of her. I replayed the video again and again, trying to understand why she had smiled as she stole the money. But then, what kind of thief does that? 2 days later, my phone rang. An unknown number. When I picked up, a soft voice whispered, "Madam, it's me, Lila." My blood froze. "Lila." I said slowly, "Where are you?" "Madam, please don't be angry," she said quickly. "I didn't steal from you. I only took what I deserve." "What you deserve?" I shouted. "You took my gold, my money, my husband's wristwatch." She laughed quietly, a sound colder than silence. "Madam, you have so much. You won't even miss it. You think you were helping me, but you were helping yourself, to feel good." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Where are you?" I demanded. "Tell me now or I'll..." The line went dead. I sat there trembling, the phone still pressed against my ear. Her last words echoed in my mind. "You think you were helping me, but you were helping yourself." That night, sleep refused to come. I lay in darkness, eyes wide open, my mind replaying every smile, every prayer, every thank you she had ever said. Before dawn, my phone buzzed again. A message. From unknown number. I opened it. It was a picture, my missing gold bangles glimmering in someone's hand. And beneath it, lies the 4 words that made my blood run cold. "You taught me well." I stared at those 4 words until my hands began to shake. "You taught me well." It felt like a knife twisting deeper with every second. I wanted to throw my phone at the wall, to break it, to erase her voice from my life, but something stopped me. The thought that maybe, just maybe, she was still nearby. I rushed to the balcony and looked down at the empty compound. The security lights flickered weakly. The night guard was snoring in his chair. There was no movement at all. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. By morning, I hadn't slept a single hour. My eyes were red. My head throbbed. My husband, Richard, noticed the moment he walked in, adjusting his tie. "What happened to you?" he asked. I hesitated. "It's Lila. She sent me a message." He froze mid-motion. "What do you mean?" I handed him my phone. He read the message slowly, his jaw tightening. "This girl is dangerous," he said. "We're going to the police again." But when we arrived, the officer barely looked up from his table. "Sir, madam, we don't have much to do if we cannot locate her. That message might have come from anywhere. Just anywhere. So you're saying we just wait?" I snapped. "She's taunting us." He shrugged lazily. "Sometimes these housemaids join gangs." If she really sent you that message, then she will show up soon. I wanted to scream. That afternoon, I sat by the window, scrolling through my phone, searching, hoping, hating. But then I saw it. A new Instagram account had tagged me in a post. The username at real_Lila_truth. My heart skipped a beat. I clicked the page, and there she was. A photo of her wearing one of my dresses. Smiling. Posing in front of a mirror. With caption that reads, "She thought I was a servant. I was only studying her." The post got thousands of likes. With hundreds of comments. Like, "Wow girl. Expose them all. Rich people deserve it." I felt sick. She was turning my pain into her performance. Then came the next post, a close-up of Richard's gold wristwatch, along with a caption that reads, "Men like him think money hides their sins." I dropped the phone as if it burned my hands. "Richard." I screamed. "She is posting about you." He rushed over, snatched the phone, and went silent. "Delete this nonsense," he shouted. But it was too late. The story had already spread. Housemaid exposes her rich bosses. People flooded the comments with hate speech. They called me fake, cruel, a heartless madam who mistreated her house help. But I knew the truth. I had never hurt her. I had only tried to help. Or, had I? Her words echoed again in my mind. "You think you were helping me, but you were helping yourself." That night, I couldn't hold back the tears. Richard poured himself a drink and spoke quietly. "Maybe we should leave this alone. She wants attention. Let her burn out." But something inside me refused to die down. I couldn't let her destroy everything I'd built. No, it won't happen. If she wants war, she would get one. Then I opened my laptop, typed her name into the search bar, and then I saw it, a small detail in one of her latest videos. A location tag. She was still in the city. My heart pounded as I grabbed my car keys. "Where are you going?" Richard shouted, stepping in front of the door. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "To find my thief." Then I slammed the door behind me. The city looked different that night. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the anger. Every streetlight felt like an eye. Every passing car made my heart jump. I followed the location tag from her video, a small neighborhood near the edge of town, not a slum, not fancy, just quiet in a way that put your skin on edge. I parked, sat for a breath, then forced myself out of the car. Part of me wanted to turn back. Another part, the part that had been whispering since she ran away, hissed, "You've come too far to stop now." I showed her picture to a fruit seller. The woman squinted, then pointed. "Blue gate. Room for back." The gate was half open. Inside, the compound smelled of soap and smoke. Girls laughed behind curtains. Music hummed low. Through a half-drawn curtain I saw her, Lila, sitting on the floor, eating noodles, wearing one of my old nightgowns. Relaxed. Free. For a second, I couldn't move. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and she looked up, startled. "Madam." Her face drained. "You didn't expect to see me, right?" I stepped forward, voice low. She stammered, I can explain." "Explain." I snapped. "Explain why you stole from me. Why you turned my life into entertainment." Her tears came fast. "It's not lies. You people think you can treat us like we're nothing." I blinked. "I gave you everything. I treated you like family. You treated me like a servant." She spat back. "You smiled when guests came, but you scolded me for small things. You made me feel invisible." The words landed harder than I'd expected. Guilt prickled at the edges of my anger, but I pushed it down. "So your answer was to steal?" She wiped her face, hands trembling. "I didn't steal the jewelry," she whispered. "Only the cash. I swear." My chest dropped. She had taken the money. "Where's the rest?" I asked. She looked away. "I gave it to my brother. He needed surgery. He would have died." Silence fell, thick and sudden. The street sounds dimmed. Her confession hung between us, raw and fragile. "You're lying," I said finally. You're making excuses. Madam, go to the General Hospital. Ask for Kwame. Ward 3B. That's my brother. He almost died that night. I wanted to lash out, to say something to make her shrink the way she'd made me shrink with betrayal, but the words wouldn't come. I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. She simply sat there and cried, small sobs swallowed by the music and the simmering noodles. That night, sleep would not come. The name Kwame kept repeating in my head like a summons. By morning, I had made up my mind. I would go to the hospital. If she was lying, she would regret ever meeting me. But if she was telling the truth, everything I believed about Lila, and about myself, was about to change. The hospital smelled like bleach and sadness. The kind of place where time moved slowly, where hope limped on crutches, and prayers sounded tired. I stood at the reception desk, my sunglasses hiding the storm in my eyes. "Good morning, Ma," the nurse greeted politely. "I'm looking for a patient," I replied, trying to steady my voice. "His name is Kwame. Ward 3B. She flipped through a register, then nodded. "Yes, he's here. But visiting hours start in 30 minutes. I sighed and found a seat by the window. Every sound, the beeping of machines, the shuffle of nurses' shoes, pressed against my chest like invisible hands. What if Lila had been telling the truth? What if I had misjudged her all along? Then again, thieves lie. That's what they do. When I finally entered Ward 3B, I froze at the doorway. A young man lay on the bed, thin, fragile, with an oxygen tube tracing the curve of his face. He looked like someone who hadn't smiled in months. Beside him sat a woman, adjusting the drip with tired patience. And then, I saw it. A gold bracelet on his wrist. My bracelet. The one with the tinier engraved on it, a gift from my husband years ago. My breath caught in my throat. I walked closer, anger returning like a flame I thought I'd put out. "Excuse me," I said sharply. "Where did he get that bracelet?" The nurse looked up, startled. "Madam, please lower your voice." I pointed at the jewelry. "That belongs to me." She blinked, confused. "His sister brought it. She said it was hers, to sell for treatment." My heart thudded. So Lila had sold it. Not for greed, but for him. Before I could process the rush of emotions, I heard a soft voice behind me. "Madam." I turned. Lila stood there, holding a plastic food pack, her eyes swollen, her face pale. "I told you," she whispered, trembling. "I didn't lie." For a long, heavy moment, we just stared at each other. Two women standing on opposite sides of pain. She stepped closer, her voice breaking. "When my brother collapsed, I begged you for an advance. You said you'd think about it. But he didn't have time. I panicked." Tears welled in her eyes. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted him to live." I swallowed hard. Flashes of her quietness, her tired eyes, the night I'd seen her crying by the sink. They all came rushing back. Maybe I had seen the signs. Maybe I'd just chosen not to. I looked again at the boy, his chest rising weakly, his life hanging by threads of sound and breath. The bracelet gleamed in the hospital light, mocking me. "You should have told me the truth," I whispered. She shook her head slowly. "People like you never listen when people like me talk." Her words cut through me, sharp, honest, merciless. Before I could respond, a doctor burst into the room. "Who's his sister?" he asked urgently. "I am," Lila said, stepping forward. The doctor sighed. "He's in cardiac distress. We need to move him now." Nurses rushed in. Machines beeped faster. I stood frozen as they wheeled him out, Lila running after them. And in that moment, I realized, this was no longer about stolen money. It was about life. And guilt. And how sometimes, even good intentions, can destroy everything. The hallway outside the emergency room felt endless. Every second stretched into a minute. Every minute into an hour. Lila was pacing, tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling so badly she dropped her phone twice. I sat on a cold plastic chair, frozen. For the first time, I didn't see her as the maid who stole from me. I saw her as a desperate sister, terrified, helpless, human. And yet, Part of me still couldn't forgive her. She had broken my trust, ruined my peace, turned my home into a battlefield of lies. Still, there I was, praying for her brother to live. After what felt like forever, the doctor emerged, peeling off his gloves. His face revealed nothing. "How is he?" Lila asked immediately, her voice cracking. The doctor sighed. "He's stable for now, but we'll need to keep him under observation for at least 3 days. The infection was severe." Lila dropped to her knees, sobbing. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you." Relief washed over me, but it was quickly swallowed by guilt. Because deep down I knew, if she hadn't stolen that money, that boy might be dead. Still, she had no right. When she finally looked at me again, her eyes were swollen, her voice barely a whisper. "Madam, I'm sorry. I know what I did was wrong. I'll pay you back. Somehow." I shook my head slowly. "It's not about the money anymore, Lila." She frowned. "Then what is it about?" I hesitated. The truth was, I didn't even know anymore. That evening, I returned home. Richard was sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the TV, the news flickering across his face. When I told him everything, the hospital, the bracelet, the brother, he didn't react the way I expected. He just sighed and said, "So the girl had a reason." "Yes," I said quietly. "But she still lied, Richard. She still stole from us." He nodded slowly, rubbing his chin. "Maybe we pushed her too far." I frowned. "What do you mean we?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood, walked to the bar, and poured himself a drink. "You think you treated her well," he said finally. "But maybe she saw things you didn't notice." I narrowed my eyes. "Like what?" He turned then, his expression unreadable. "Maybe she saw how we argue. Maybe she heard things she shouldn't have." I froze. "What are you talking about?" He took a slow sip, eyes fixed on the glass in his hand. Then he said softly, almost to himself, "Didn't you ever wonder why she targeted you online, not me?" I blinked. "Because I'm the madam. I was the one in charge." He smiled faintly, a bitter, knowing smile. "Or maybe, she wanted to protect me." The words hit me like a slap. "Protect you from what?" He didn't answer. He just stared into his drink, as if something inside it could explain the silence between us. And for the first time, a new thought crept into my mind. One darker than betrayal, heavier than guilt. What if Richard and Lila were hiding something from me? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house made me flinch. And in the darkness, one question echoed over and over. Who really betrayed who? The next morning, I woke up to silence that felt wrong. Richard was already gone. No note, no text, not even the rumble of his car pulling out. I made coffee but couldn't drink it. My hands trembled too badly. His words from the night before replayed in my head like a taunt. Maybe she wanted to protect me. Protect him from what? My instincts wouldn't rest. I did something I'd never done before. I went through his phone. It wasn't hard. I knew his password. I told myself it was just to calm my fears, to prove my husband wasn't hiding anything. But the moment I opened his WhatsApp, my stomach dropped. There it was, a chat labeled Richard, and love emojis, Lila. My vision blurred. Maybe it was another Lila, I thought, until I tapped it open. My whole body went cold. Her profile picture. Her name. Their messages. Richard, stop posting online. You'll make things worse. Lila, you promised you'd take care of me. Richard, I said I'd help, not ruin my marriage. Lila, then tell her the truth before I do. I dropped the phone. The room closed in, the air turned thin. So it wasn't pity. It wasn't only guilt. He knew. He knew all along. And that bracelet, the one on her brother's wrist, wasn't taken by chance. It was a gift. From him. Rage burned hotter than anything I'd felt. My car keys slipped from my sweaty hands twice before I finally got the engine started. I didn't pause to think. I drove. Straight to the hospital. Lila sat under a tree, clutching a small food flask. She looked up and froze when she saw me. Madam, don't call me that, I snapped. Her lips trembled. Please, I don't want trouble. Trouble. I cut her off. You stole from me, you exposed me online, and now you've been sleeping with my husband? She flinched, shock, shame, something I couldn't name. It's not what you think, she whispered. Oh really? I shouted. Then what is it, Lila? You borrowed my money, you borrowed my jewelry, and now you borrowed my husband. People were staring, but I didn't care. Tears blurred my vision. She stood slowly, voice breaking. I didn't mean for it to happen. He helped me when I was broke. He said he'd get me a new job. I thought he cared. My heart twisted. And you believed him? She nodded weakly. He promised he'd tell you everything. But when I got pregnant, he changed. Pregnant. The word felt like a blow. She nodded again, sobbing. I lost it. The stress, everything. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to destroy her. Instead I felt a sharp, hollow betrayal, not only from the girl who'd stolen my things, but from the man I'd slept beside for 12 years. But then, my phone buzzed. When I read Richard's message, we need to talk. Don't do anything stupid. I almost laughed. Don't do anything stupid? He was the one who did everything stupid. He brought a stranger into our home, into our lives, into our bed. I wiped my tears and typed back only 2 words. Come home. Then I drove straight there. The house felt colder than usual. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was me. I sat on the sofa, waiting. My fingers wouldn't stay still, twisting together again and again. Every sound made me look toward the door. Finally, it opened. Richard stepped inside, tired, guilty, small. He stood for a while, watching me, as if searching for the right lie to start with. Then he said quietly, "So you found out." I stood up. "You lied to me." He sighed. "It wasn't supposed to go this far." This far. I snapped. "You cheated on me with the housemaid, Richard. In our house. In my home." He rubbed his forehead, pacing the floor. "I didn't plan it. She was there when you weren't. You were always busy, always angry, always." Always what? I cut in. Always trying to make this family work? Always cleaning up your mess? He slammed his hand against the table. "Stop acting like a saint. You treated her like trash, Ada. She came to me crying one night." My heart cracked. Even now, he defended her. "So you became her savior?" I said bitterly. "Her lover? Her god." He looked down, ashamed. "It was a mistake." I laughed, that broken kind of laugh that sounds like pain. A mistake that lasted how long? He didn't answer. "Richard," I whispered, "did you love her?" He looked up. His eyes were heavy, unreadable. After a long pause, he said quietly, "Not the way you think." And just like that, 12 years of marriage collapsed inside me. A castle built on loyalty, shattered by deceit. Then another thought struck, darker than all the rest. What about the pregnancy? I asked slowly. Was it true? He froze. His eyes widened just slightly, enough to tell me he hadn't expected that. You know. I stepped closer. Was it yours? Silence. That silence said everything. I slapped him. Hard. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. He didn't move, didn't fight back. He just stood there, eyes glassy, whispering, "You destroyed everything." I whispered back, "No, Richard, you destroyed everything." He lowered his gaze. "I already destroyed myself." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every corner of the house screamed with memories I wanted to burn. And just when I thought the pain couldn't dig deeper, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't Richard this time. It was Lila. "He told you everything, right? Then you should also know he's hiding something worse." My blood ran cold. "Meet me tomorrow. Alone." I stared at the message, my heart pounding. If what she said was true, then maybe. The betrayal had only just begun. I didn't sleep that night. Lila's message burned in my mind like a brand. He's hiding something worse. Meet me tomorrow. Alone. Something worse? What could possibly be worse than betrayal, lies, and humiliation? Part of me wanted to delete the message, block her number,